So this video is for vampire creators who have written and published their own vampire stories. So if you don't fall into that category, there's not going to be a lot here that's of interest to you. So if I may suggest, follow this little link here, and this will take you to some actual chapter readings of vampire stories that will be far more entertaining to you. But if you are in fact here to find out what the criteria are for having your own vampire book read on chapter 1, then welcome, and let's get into it, shall we? The whole reason behind doing this segment called Chapter 1 is that it's all well and good to, talk to famous people or people who are very successful within a particular genre and, find out all about them. But I also think it's really important to talk to the people who are, scrapping it out at the beginning of their journeys. And people who don't have lucrative publishing contracts or are able to direct major movies or don't have the resources to make their own comic book and get it, published by Image or Marvel. I want specifically to be able to showcase some people who are coming up with their own vampire stories who just haven't hit it big yet, but who are going to be no less creative and whose ideas are going to be super cool. So in this segment, I'll be taking a book that has been published that is about vampires and reading the first chapter here on the show out loud with the author sitting on a Zoom call with me in the hopes to be able to get it out there a little bit, to introduce potentially new readers to an exciting up-and-coming writer or creator who has their own vampire stories to tell. So that's kind of the point of this whole thing. So what are the submission guidelines to get your book read on Chapter 1? I'm glad you asked. Let's go over that. The first is that your book has to be about vampires. Now, what do I mean by that? There has to be a vampire who is a main character of your story. Not some cameo that pops up somewhere in the middle of the book, not, reference to vampires having once existed in your world. There needs to be a vampire in it, so much so that the word vampire appears somewhere in the blurb of your book on the online retailer that you're selling it on. Second of all, there has to be a vampire in the first chapter of your book. Now, your book may be lousy with vampires by the time we get to chapter 7, but in order for it to be entertaining to this audience, to have chapter 1 read to them, a vampire has to show up and be in that first chapter. Third of all, it has to be available to purchase and download. Please don't send anything that you are thinking about writing, no works in progress, not something you're currently workshopping with your writers group. It has to actually be published. And the reason for that is we want to read the first chapter, and then we want to go out and buy the rest of the book. So it needs to actually be available for purchase. If you meet the criteria, how do you submit your book? We have a form for that. A form. So there is a link below that you can click on that will take you to the form. And the form has 3 fields. The first one is your email address, so I know how to get a hold of you. The second one is the link to where your book is available for purchase on Amazon. Not Barnes & Noble, not Kobo, any place else. They're all wonderful distributors, but I am looking for books that are on Amazon because I read on a Kindle. So unfortunately, you're locked into my preferred e-reader. Sorry about that. That's just the way it is. And then the third field is just tell me a little bit about yourself. If there's anything of interest about you, or how you came up with the book, or anything that you think I should know, let me know there. Please do not send me an email with your first chapter in the body of the email. Don't send me your manuscript. I don't want to see it. I don't want to read it. All I want to do is go to that Amazon page, see the cover artwork, read the blurb, try the sample, and read the first couple sentences and just, make sure that you know how to write in English and you have proper spelling and, vaguely correct comma usage. And then that's it. I'll make my entire decision based on that. If it seems like it's a good match to be read on this show, then I'll send you an email and we'll get it set up. And you don't have to pay any money. There's nothing like that. All I'm going to ask is for you to basically give me permission to read the first chapter of your book and to put it up on YouTube, where it will sit for all eternity for people to watch, listen to, and enjoy. Having said all that, please do not be offended if I don't actually choose your book. It doesn't mean that your book is bad. It doesn't mean that I think that your book is bad. It doesn't mean that I have made any sort of moral judgments on you as a person or your ability to write. It could just be any number of reasons as to why I don't think it's quite right for this show. That could be that it's too sexy. It could be that it's not sexy enough. It could be too political. It could be too pro-werewolf. It could be too triggering. It could remind me of a certain thing that happened to me when I asked a girl out on a date once and it went really bad for some reason. You didn't ask about that, but that's what I'm saying. Now, if your book does get picked, you are going to have to appear on camera. And I know. You decided to become an author so that you didn't ever have to see anybody or ever leave your dark room. But this is meant to be a celebration of you. We want to be able to see your face and look into your eyes and hear your voice when you talk to us about how you came up with the idea and what inspired you to write this story. So you are going to need to have some kind of a webcam and a little bit of bandwidth so that you can actually appear on a Zoom call. But that is it. That is all the criteria. Let's read some first chapters, shall we?